was finally here, you were just leaping for joy. You were so excited. I know when I used to go to open that second set of presents at my grandma's house, I was filled with joy. When I take a field trip with the school, I would just be so excited to get away from mom and dad and books and go and have some fun. I think about a trip recently that took place. It was a trip to Disney World. It was the first time that I had gone. Kelly went many times as a child. It was the first time our two kids had gone either. I say two because the third one was still in Kelly's stomach, Caroline. She was 6 months pregnant. We were going to go with the in-laws and the kids to Disney World. And the day came, the kids were so excited. They were so excited. And we got on the plane. Well, James wasn't as excited when the plane took off. And he wasn't as excited as the plane flew. He screamed the entire way. And I'm sure everybody in the plane loved us to death. But we finally got there, 11 p.m. at night. We pull up into Florida. We'd got a pretty cheap rate on an airplane. Well, we didn't know really why it was so cheap until a little bit later. It's 11 o'clock at night. We go to the taxi terminal to catch a taxi to get to our hotel room. We're like, oh my Lord, I cannot wait. Minutes, we're going to be in the resort. I'm going to be going to sleep. It's going to be so wonderful after such a long day. Well, we get to the taxi terminal, and the lady says, we'd like to go to our resort, Disney World. And the lady says, you know that you're in Sanford, Florida, don't you? Not Orlando. This is Sanford. Hearts drop. Sanford, Florida. And so, we had my two in-laws, we had Kelly and I, we had our two kids, so we had to find an extra big van to take us to this airport, this hotel that was about an hour away. So, after an hour-long wait, we finally find a cab that's big enough to hold all of us. We get into the cab, and we drive the hour to the resort. We finally get into bed sometime around 2 a.m. Of course, the kids at 2 a.m. aren't ready to go to sleep because they're so excited about Disney World. Tomorrow we're going to be at Disney World. Of course, Kelly and I are cranky, and mom and dad-in-law are cranky. Kelly's cranky, of course, because she's 6 months pregnant. She's been running around trying to find us a cab for hours. But we finally get to sleep. The next day, we go to the resort, we go to Disney World, and we get there, and there's the Magic Kingdom right there before us. And we're standing in the gates. We're standing in the gates, just like the psalmist says this morning. Oh, Jerusalem, we are now standing in your gates. It's kind of like a Disney World Plus, the temple plus. Because that's what I'm using this morning. But I think the exultation that those pilgrims felt was something similar. They've been making this long, arduous journey to get to this place, and it's the center of Judaism. It's the place where all of us come together and we celebrate together in the house of the Lord, to celebrate the Lord that binds us together and makes us one people. It's a happy time. We're standing in your gates, finally. But the temple, though it was a good place, was also a corrupted place. We're going to be talking about two temples this morning, by the way. Solomon's temple, which was just a magnificent glory. It housed the very Spirit of God. His glory, the Shekinah glory, lived within the temple, but then it departed because of the corruption of man. And later, Herod's temple was built, and if you know Herod at all, if you've been to church on Christmas and you know about Herod, he wasn't a very nice guy. No, he was not a very nice guy at all. And he built this temple for his glory, not for God's glory. So they come here to Solomon's temple in the Psalm. They're coming to Solomon's temple. And it's a beautiful thing, but it's also got corruption within its walls. Because people there are selling things and making money. As Jesus says later, it's a marketplace. Corruption has entered into the temple, not just the true and perfect worship of God. I'd like you to indulge me this morning, if you would, and kind of close your eyes a little bit, or bow your head and walk along in this meditation with me to get an image of the temple. Its bricks, untouched by hammer or chisel, stood one on top of the other, climbing to the heavens. As the pilgrims approached the great city of Jerusalem, its walls, the golden inlay, the jeweled pillars shine like the sun, beckoning the traveler to come and find their journey's end in courts of endless praise. Imagine the slopes of that great hill, teeming with pilgrims, making their way up to that glistening jewel. Then suddenly we stand in Jerusalem's gates, legs sore, sweaty, squeezed breathless among your brothers and sisters. You find yourself swept along in the great ocean of zeal, consumed with zeal for the Lord. This temple is the very throne room of God. This city its keeper, its defender. And you are part of this city, no matter your home. This temple and its city make all one. We are standing in your gates, your home. Open your eyes. What jubilation, what beauty to come to this temple, this shining jewel upon the hill, to make your way up to that place to worship, to enter the house of the Lord, the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of your fathers. You're there. Something I'm sure all of you would agree on is the beauty of this building. It's truly the most beautiful church that I've worshiped in. The stained glass windows and the wood and all the ornamentation has been placed here by generations past and present to the glory of God. This place is beautiful. This house of prayer, this house of the Lord. But just as Solomon's temple fell, just as Herod's temple fell, so too one day this place will fall as well. Not one brick to be left on top of the other, for nothing lasts in this life. But the true Lord that is worshipped in this place will last. The true temple will endure. Jesus today comes and he stands in the temple and he drives out those who would corrupt the worship of the Lord. He comes and he drives out those people that would profane the worship, the true worship that people have come to offer unto God. He drives them out with a whip of cords and with loud words and zeal that consumes him, Lord. He drives them out because he says, This is the temple. This is the true temple. God lives within me. At the onset of his ministry now in 2 John, he is saying, I am the temple, of which everything else was just a type. Everything else was just a type. The Spirit of God lives within me. And you can hang this body on a tree. You can leave it for dead in the wilderness. You can whip it and beat it and crush it. But this temple will never be destroyed. This temple will never be destroyed, for I will raise it again in 3 days. The true temple of God. When we come to this place Sunday after Sunday and we celebrate the Eucharist together and we gather together for fellowship, we are entering the temple of God, not one that we can see, one that's suspended in the heavens above this altar. We see it more and more as we come here, as we live into the faithfulness that God calls us to. More and more, we become the temples of God, as Paul says. You are the temple of God. So, what does that mean? What does it mean to be the living temple of God? It means offering your body, your mind, your soul, and your strength to God, not holding anything back. It means offering your life in such a way that the glory of the Lord shines forth from you, just as it did in the days of Solomon in the temple. It means living your life in such a way that you're a sacrifice placed upon the altar to bring blessing to others. You are the living temple of God. Not this place, you. And as you come to this place, to reach up to the heavens at this altar, to share in the temple that is there, that's enduring in the heavens, be filled with that Spirit that you might go out into your lives and shine forth that Shekinah, that glory of God to all that you encounter, that men may see the good works that you do and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. That is your calling as the people of God, the body of Christ, the true and living temple that shall never perish. Because no matter how broken you feel, no matter how vulnerable you feel, no matter how sick and tired you feel, no matter how sore and sweaty your legs are, no matter how tired you are hearing kids screaming, you're entering into Disney World. Shine your light. Shine your light. Offer your life as a sacrifice of praise, that others might be drawn to this temple as well, that the hillsides might teem with the masses who come to that light. The only sacrifice that God desires is a broken and contrite heart laid upon His altar in faith. Peace be within your walls, the psalmist says. It's not a peace that the world understands. It's not the absence of war. It's shalom. To make all things right. Shalom. May all things be completed. May they be made right. For your sake, for your family's sake. One. You know, Kelly and I have had our share of hard times in the church. I'm sure many of you have too. Splits are terrible things that happen in the lives of the church when people leave. Families are separated. Kelly and I have been through 5 of them.
Let's leave it there.
Yes. That's why I came here now and not before. But each one of those instances is a fracturing within the house of God. Just as the one temple made all the people of Israel one people when they came to worship God, and as all people will be made one in the kingdom of heaven, worshiping before the throne of grace in the great temple suspended in the heavens, so we are called to be one people as well. And when irreconciliation comes in, when brokenness comes in, when sin creeps in, when we decide that we have to be right above all else, none of us are right. None of us are truly right. That's God's job. We're just damaging the temple of God. So be one. Share your lives with one another. Share your hearts with one another. For in doing so, you share Christ with one another. And the body of Christ is truly and rightly realized. Offer your sacrifice of praise and thanksgiving to the Lord Most High. And lay your hearts upon this altar, that we all might truly live into our calling to be the temples of God.